No, not really. Just
Okay.
I don't know, kind of get late my time at least. What are you? You're Central Time?
I'm Eastern,
Oh, okay.
but I feel you. All right, so should we start out with the Olympics then? I feel like that's the one everybody has to, like wants to know about. But
Yeah, I guess it's with the $1 million this week.
yeah,
Are you
the
playing that
Millie
at all?
tournament. I qualified a couple times with Saddies. I may fire a couple more depending on when we jump off. I'm gonna check how full it is. It was looking like it was actually not gonna fill, maybe. So
Yeah,
if it's low, I'll probably the one thing I do like about this $1 million buy-in is that the structure is a lot better than most of the $1 million, like the
majors.
billing
Yeah,
makers are pretty bad. But
yeah.
I'd almost rather have a $20 tournament with $1 million guaranteed prize pool and 100K to the top prize than $1 million to the winner and then a
20
shit
bucks to
show
the
after
second
the
place.
yeah, like second places. Like I fade those things just on the principle of, like, if I come in second place, like my house will be gone the next day. Like it'll be a pile of burnt down just
Yeah,
ashes. Because if I miss out on an extra $900,000 because of some bogus ass 25th place par, like I'm gonna shit my bed and burn everything down. So I don't know. I try and fade those kind of tournaments just for that sheer purpose. Because you get one opportunity. I mean, there's 100,000 entries in those things, if not more. Like, if you come in fifth place, the next time you're coming in fifth place or better is never. Like, it's not happening in your lifetime. It's so unlikely. It's like a lottery ticket. If you come close to winning the lottery, it's probably not happening again.
I hear
Um, so I guess that's my rant. We're live
you.
now, so the entire world just got to listen to my bogus ass
I'm
rant
glad
there
I
on
made
the
it for that. I'm glad I made it for that. That was awesome.
yeah. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Eric and I were just talking. We're gonna go ahead and start out with the Olympic Games and then roll right into the John Deere Classic. Offline here, Chris, you told us you probably weren't gonna fire too much on the John Deere Classic. I will hopefully talk you out of that, but we'll save that conversation as we transition. So let's get right into the Olympic Games in Rio. We've got 60 golfers, probably 15 to 20 of which we can cross off the list right off the bat. So let's roll right into it. Um, First off, Henrik Stenson at 12,400. I'm going to just go ahead and combine all of 10K up to 12.4 because I think really this is the start. You've got guys in this range that are most likely the winner is going to come from this range. I guess I would start by saying that. That could be kind of a hot take, but I don't think I'm far off base there. So um, Eric, why don't you start out and tell us, first of all, do you think I'm off base by saying the winner is going to come from this 10K and up range, and then follow up with who you're going to play and who you're going to fade kind of in this 10K plus range?
Yeah, no, you're spot on with the 10K up. Having the obviously being the odds-on favorite, I'd throw Willett in there as well. Just the field just drops off so quickly. It gets embarrassingly ugly pretty quick. So it's 10K and up for sure. But it's going to be tough to have two, three of these guys in a lineup and build a something you're confident in. Just with the trash that you're digging through at the bottom, it's gonna be difficult. So yeah, you gotta hit this guy. If you're going one or two, you gotta be both gotta come top five for you to have a chance at anything big. So, but for me, I really like Sergio Garcia this week. I don't know if he's being talked about that much. I'd like to hear what your ownership projection is on him, but I like the fact that he's coming off a miscut. Actually, hopefully that kind of people kind of get scared of that a bit, um, or they just they're spending for Stenson and they just can't get Garcia into their lineup. But I'm ignoring that miscut at the PGA. I like the form that he's coming in with, and I just think it'd be fitting for Garcia's career to have a gold medal under his belt, but no majors. I just think that's kind of the player that he could end up being. So I'm on Garcia this week. I think low ownership, still a high price tag, but he's obviously one of the elite golfers in this field, and I think just there's some question marks with some of the Americans, and then I'm just not feeling Stenson this week at that price and at that ownership.
So, Chris, before we kick it to
yeah.
you, I'll tell you Sergio's ownership, but I don't think you're gonna like the answer.
That's
you
fine.
Want to guess?
25.
27.
34.
Yeah.
So, I know that sounds high. Probably there's a little bit of shock factor to that, but as I went into the ownership percentages, we've got a hell of a lot less golfers. So, the total ownership at the end of the day is going to equal 600% between all the golfers in the field, which means that that's an average of 10%. But if you take the bottom 20 golfers, they're all going to be under 1%.
Yeah.
So you're taking almost all of that 600% and piling it up at the top. So I think you're going to be surprised by some high ownership this week. Sergio Garcia, 34%, is the second highest ranked guy. I did consider moving him down because of the miscut recently, but he's been talked about a lot this week. And his last two events, he was owned over 25% in a normal full field. So I don't think Sergio is going to be as low as you think, but it's certainly not out of the range of possibility. I talked about it on the podcast, but ownership percentages, especially in the Olympics, are, I think, going to be a shit show. I'm not looking forward to the tweet where I tweet out the results because I think this is going to be a tough one to project. So you could be right on the mark with Sergio, but I don't know. Chris, what do you think? What's your take on that?
Yeah, I think those top guys are going to come in pretty high owned, just, Stenson's form. But I don't think it's going to be a whole lot of separation, I guess, from that second tier. But I think you're going to need at least two of the medals, the gold for sure, either the gold and silver, gold and bronze, out of your three guys. If you're going for three guys above that 8K, 9K range. So I know myself, I'm going down. I'm actually fading the top three guys in the 11K plus range and going down a little bit heavy on the American, especially Ricky Fowler this week. He just seems to be all in on the Olympic thing, all there for his country. Same kind of thing with Reed. They both really passionate when they play for the U.S. So I guess Ricky would be my favorite, followed by Reed and then Keimer as well. He's just another guy, kind of just from watching interviews and stuff, just seems like he's really passionate about playing for his country this week. So those are kind of my three core guys, and I'm going to try and build a bunch of lineups with two in a lineup and then just kind of sprinkle in a lot of those bottom guys so I can try and get two, maybe three medals and a bunch of top 10, top 20s possibly.
Okay, so tell me, Chris, do you think that American narrative that you talked about with Ricky Fowler and Patrick Reed, do you think that's going to affect ownership at all? And if so, how much?
I had a tough time actually just with those two, especially Ricky Fowler and Patrick Reed the most, trying to figure out what they're going to be owned. Fowler hasn't had the greatest year. I think this is a good spot for him to turn everything around and kind of make up for, I guess you can kind of call it a lost season. Reed, I've been talking about Reed for a while now. He just hasn't seemed the same since last year. I think it was the Valspar early in the year where he lost in the playoff to Spieth. Just seems like their career paths went kind of not totally in opposite directions, but kind of after that tournament. I think being, most Americans are going to be playing this, that, there's that narrative for high ownership, but I just think the current form is just going to keep it level. Kind of, I guess I finalized on right now right around that 20%, 18 to 22, somewhere in there, so I kind of took the average about right around that 20% range for those two for sure.
Okay. Very good.
A little lower for Bubba. I got Bubba at like 15 to 18 kind of thing, so a little bit lower.
Okay. Eric, what do you think about that?
On the American narrative?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Reed's going to be extremely popular. Just seems like he's, Captain America this week, and people are talking about him being like I don't know. I saw a tweet saying in a couple of days Patrick Reed's gonna be like better than Michael Phelps in terms of the best Olympian or whatever. So I just think
That's
people are
hilarious.
taking people are taking Reed's patriotism to like the next level. But I think all these guys, they're here obviously to represent their country. So I'm not too worried about someone, maybe not being motivated. I think any one of these guys would it would be like a career highlight to win a gold medal. I think the Europeans, they're almost, I don't know, they treat the Ryder Cup pretty big. And if Rose or Garcia or Stenson won the gold, it'd be pretty incredible. So I'm not too worried about someone, you know, not getting up for the Olympics or whatever. They're here for the right reasons, I guess you could say. But I think Bubba and Kuchar are definitely going to be the lowest two owned in the Americans. I'm off Watson completely, but I think Kuchar could come in under the radar. He is good in these weak field events. This is exactly what it is. So I think he could be a sneaky GPP play, and I think definitely getting overlooked with Keimer probably soaking up a lot of ownership because yeah, he's been I think talked about a lot as well.
Okay, I could get on board with all of that. Um, I'm going to take a lot of Henrik. I mean, basically my take on this is to pick 2 or 3 guys up top here and just sprinkle the shit out of everybody down low because ultimately these guys are not all going to finish in order at the top of the salary range here. So that's going to open the door for some of these guys, these scrub guys who nobody knows, to finish up top here. I think even with 60 players and no cut, I think you're going to see, some pretty good lineups at the top of GPPs, and I think it's going to include some of these guys that we're not really all that familiar with, even as experts. So, that's kind of my philosophy on lineup construction this week. I will be taking probably 65% of Henrik Stenson. I expect him to be 40% owned is what I have him projected at. I could see that being over, but I could also see it going over 40% with the lack of golfer selection here. The only thing I think that would push that ownership number down is the fact that the scrubs are golfers that people don't really know. So it's going to be tempting for, I think, a lot of the casual golfer or casual DFS players to want to pick some of these golfers in the mid-range. So could see ownership come lower on Henrik Stenson there. The other guy I will have in this range is Martin Keimer, and the last guy is Patrick Reed for some of the same reasons you guys talked about. Obviously they both make some sense here. I won't beat the dead horse here. The only thing that concerns me about Patrick Reed is his good drive percentage. Talked a little bit about it on the podcast, but his green and regulation and good drive percentage is pretty low. But again, we don't really have any history for this course, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure how to qualify what type of golfer belongs on this course. So I'm kind of doing my best to read into the narratives and create statistics that make sense that way. But I'm not sure that good drive and green and regulation are going to be all that critical this week. I think scrambling and sand save percentage are going to be some key components. So it's kind of hard to have a strong take on Patrick Reed, but I will have some of them for a lot of the same reasons you guys talked about. I'll kick us off. Let's go into the 9 and 8K range. We'll combine the two. I'll kick us off. The guy I like the most probably in the entire slate is Danny Willett. He's a guy that is almost not being talked about at all this week. His recent form is not great, but it's also not the worst recent form we've seen out of winners on the PGA Tour. He's coming off of 2 missed cuts and some pretty bad finishes after that. But he's the 3rd best golfer in the field according to the official World Golf rankings. He's going to be 13.7% owned is what I have him at, but I could very well see him come well below that. I mean, if we get Danny Willett under 10% in a field like this where there's 60 golfers to pick from, he's a home run from lineup lock. I mean, if Danny Willett is under 10%, I'm going to be already celebrating before the tournament starts. If he misses the cut, fine. That's part of variance and that's part of golf. But to get the 3rd best golfer in the field at 9,900 and potentially under 10% ownership, to me, feels like an option that we can't pass up, regardless of recent form, which we know is not all that predictive for golf tournaments all the time. So I really like Danny Willett. Can't say that enough. Gonna sprinkle some other guys down in the 8 and 9K range. Probably the guy I like the most next is Rafa Cabrera Bello. I think he might also be somewhat popular. Again, I'm sort of kind of just throwing ownership out of the window at this point. I don't really think that it's going to be the most critical component this week. I think that the best way to make yourself contrarian is to leave some salary on the table, but we can circle back to that. Rafa Cabrera Bello, Danny Lee, I think, makes an interesting pick, especially with his recent result at the Scottish Open, which is significant because it's the same designer as the course we're playing on for the Olympics this week. He talked about the similarities between Castle Stewart and this course, the Olympic golf course, I think is what it's called. But Danny Lee, I think, makes an interesting option. And the last guy I just want to mention is Jonathan Vegas. He's been talked about a lot. He's a real streaky golfer, but we've sort of seen a lot of ups and downs in terms of streaks for Jonathan Vegas. So he's a guy I'm willing to kind of buy into the recent form on. And then anybody else I'll let you guys talk about. So Chris, why don't you kick us off? Is there anybody I missed, anybody you disagree with, or anybody you want to jump on board with me?
I'm on the fade Willett train, so I'm kind of opposite there with you, just with the form, and I kind of had to come up with a few guys I was going to fade because I can't really play everyone in this upper range, and I'm going heavy on the 10K guys, the U.S. guys especially. So Willett and Griot are two guys at the top of the 9K range. I'm just fading just because it just hasn't worked out in my lineup so far. I did do a couple balanced. I really like Rafa Cabrera, and Byung Hun An is another guy I'm looking at. Just kind of looking at that narrative thing, his parents being Olympians. Mom kind of getting screwed up.
Is Chris still there?
He's frozen in time.
Chris, we've lost Chris.
We lost him.
All right, why don't you take over, Eric, until Chris gets back. Chris is frozen in time right now. We'll hope that he still exists. I literally just got done watching Back to the Future, so that's kind of
well, there you go.
Ironic. But all right, why don't you take over for Chris? Why don't you fill in the rest of his blanks?
I think he was going on with the Benny Ann narrative. I like it a lot. Yeah, he was talking about his parents being ex-Olympians. I like your co-host Kenny Kim's take that these guys got to get a medal in order to, I guess, if they really want to avoid military service. So that's extremely, I think that's insane, the amount of pressure that he might be, I don't know, dealing with come Sunday if he's got some pressure putts. You guys think, if you want to break 90 for the first time, imagine this guy trying to make a putt to avoid military service. I think that'd be insane to deal with, and I can't really imagine that. But I think, hunting for low-owned guys in this range will be huge. And I guess if you're building a full GPP lineup, that's going to be extremely important with a small field. So someone, I'm not sure what you're projecting them at, but someone I kind of flying under the radar is Soren Kjeldsen. He seems to show up in majors. He's had some pretty high finishes this year in all the majors, I believe. So if you want to kind of treat this as a fifth major or whatever, I think this is a good spot for him just to kind of come out of nowhere. His stats haven't been that good, but I mean, you're just looking for a low-owned 5-6% type play here, so no cut. So I think 4 rounds of Kjeldsen is a good option. You kind of misspoke there, Brad, but no cut. So if you give me 4 rounds of a top 10 golfer in the world, I think the cream will probably rise to the crop, and I like Willett a lot at 10-11% owned in a field like this, no cut. Give me the Masters champ any day of the week. I think that's a fantastic play. And yeah, I think Vegas will be popular, so maybe fade him in GPPs. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about anyone else. I kind of been gravitating towards Willett in this range, Keltian in this range, and Benny Ann. Those are kind of my guys that I'm rolling with.
Okay, I like it. Let's go ahead and we'll drop down. We'll combine. We'll just do the 7K and then we'll combine the 6 and 5K so we can get into a little bit of the John Deere Classic before we have to wrap this up. So why don't I let you take the reins here first in the 7K range? Is there anybody that really stands out to you here?
You know, they jam the Canadians in there at 7,400. Nice, a good price, I think, for both of them.
Throw them in there.
Seriously,
nobody will notice, right?
Yeah, just didn't know where to put them, so just put them right in the middle. Hearn kind of burned a bunch of people at the Canadian Open. That was kind of his tournament to shine, but he's been playing really well this year. Not a big birdie maker, but avoids the bogeys. He's got good proximity stats, good drive percentage stats. So like kind of stats that should translate well if you aren't really familiar with the course. I guess that's kind of what I look when you don't really know what the course is. I guess it's, the fairways are all the same, the greens are there, so just hit your greens, hit your fairways, and you should be able to score well. So I think that's something to look for. Graham DeLette is 14th in birdie or better percentage, so 4 rounds of that without worrying if DeLette's going to make the cut. I think that's a good spot for him too.
That was actually the next thing I was going to ask you when you kind of mentioned the stats is how much are you going to weigh birdie or better percentage this week with the no-cut event? I mean, is that something you're going to look at a lot more closely?
Yeah, it typically is. I mean, it relates to DraftKings scoring. So if you're giving me 4 rounds of a guy who makes a ton of birdies versus some guy who just kind of putts around and makes pars, I'm going to take the birdie guy all day. And especially in this field when some of these guys are, who knows, like it'll be interesting to see some of these scores. These guys could be shooting over par every round, some of these scrubs, and providing basically no value. So I think birdies are gonna. It'd be interesting to see whoever makes the most birdies exactly where they end up in terms of DraftKings scoring. But I'd assume that whoever leading the field in birdies is probably within the top 2 or 3 in scoring. So that's something I lean heavily on. I know that like everyone gets 4 rounds, but at the same time, guys are going to be out here just trying to make pars. So I like DeLette for that reason. I'll let you go. I'm gonna peek over this a bit further. I think there's a couple more guys I want to talk about, but
okay. One of the guys that I think makes a really great GPP play is Padraig Harrington. There's not really a whole lot that stands out statistically for him right now. If you look at his year-long stats, but he's been really good recently. Last week he finished 64th at the Travelers Championship, but that's his worst finish in basically 8 weeks plus. He's been 30th or better and had a 10th place finish at the PGA Championship recently. He's a guy that I think is not being talked about enough, and I think his price at $7,700 is pretty low for a guy who's kind of a class golfer in this type of field. I think if you consider some of these top guys and expect them to go 4 rounds and be close to last place, which will happen for some of these top price guys, there will be at least a few of them down at the 50th finish place area. I think Padraig Harrington is a type of guy that I could see sort of take the place of some of those top guys in the leaderboard. So I'll have quite a bit of him. I'm trying to think. So, the other guy I really, really like is Mikko Yonen. Both Harrington and Yonen are going to be pretty low owned, I think. Yonen I have at 3% just because I talked about him, but even 3% probably is too high. I think I don't have that much pull, to be perfectly honest with you. I think most likely he's probably going to go under that number that I gave him. But he has a 13th place finish at the Scottish Open, a 31st place finish before that, and his game is trending upward. He's basically his last 3 finishes on the Euro Tour: 69th, 25th, and 13th. So, not necessarily somebody who I think is one of the better golfers in the field. I don't know that he's necessarily underpriced either, but definitely the type of guy who I think has enough experience on a bigger stage that has some upside, could do well, and will definitely be low owned. I mean, if Mikko Jonen finds his way into the top 10, if you've got 10 to 15% of them, you've got some lineups that are probably knocking on the door at some in some GPPs. So Mikko Jonen's the other guy I really like. I don't hate either of the Canadians you talked about. Wang Junhun, or Junhun Wang, I guess he's listed multiple different ways on DraftKings and other sources, but he is a back-to-back winner on the Euro Tour this year. I wrote him up in my Euro Tour article. Terrible recent form. Had a miscut at the Scottish Open recently, but anybody winning back-to-back on the Euro Tour has some sort of talent as a golfer. So I think he makes some sense with a little bit of upside. And I'll circle back to you. Is there anybody else I missed? Anybody else you really like here?
I just want to chime in on Harrington. I believe someone mentioned it, but he was one of him and Tiger, I guess, were the two back in the day when they were trying to get the Olympics golf into the Olympics. He was one of the big, voices behind that. So he's probably been waiting a long time for this. So he's probably, I like that play a lot. He's definitely been looking forward to this for a while. Have you heard Bernd Wiesberger get mentioned at all? He's been playing decent. He's missed a couple cuts in the majors, but he's got a lot of high finishes this year, top 20s, top 30s. I haven't heard him mentioned. I've heard Jaco van Ziel mentioned right above him. So I think that Wiesberger, he has the pedigree. He's played on these big stages, and I think he's coming in under the radar. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him within the top 10. I just don't know what his ownership would be. I think this is when it starts to get kind of, you're almost throwing darts with ownerships in some of these guys.
Yeah, I agree. You did talk about Jaco van Ziel and the narrative a little bit, but he's been there for months. He's skipped majors to be here. Obviously, he's pretty motivated for this whole thing. I still have him at pretty low ownership too. So, if that's a type of narrative that you're going to buy into, then by all means, take some Jaco van Ziel. I don't know that I necessarily subscribe to the fact that just because he's there, it's going to make him a better golfer than some of these other guys in the field. But he has some experience in the PGA Tour. He's pretty low owned or pretty low priced. So I don't hate it. Definitely somebody that I wouldn't talk you off of. So I guess that's probably it in that range for me.
I just want to kind of highlight I think Gregory Bordy will be pretty chalky. Just he's been playing well, and a lot of people have been talking about him. So I think it's important to recognize the chalk, and depending on what you're playing in, to try to avoid it as much as you can. Do you agree with Bordy kind of being someone people gravitate towards down here?
Absolutely, yeah. I've got him as the highest priced guy in this range, almost the highest priced guy in this range. I think there's going to be a little bit of chalk in a couple of these other guys. Joost Luiten has been talked about quite a bit. Graham Billette, I think, just because of name recognition, gets a little bit of a bump. But basically behind those guys, Gregory Bordy's the next highest price guy. And I think fade makes a ton of sense here. I talked a little bit about it on the podcast. I talked about it in my DraftKings Playbook article, but he has pretty garbage course history at the Scottish Open. So for me, I'm going to read at least a little bit into that. I'm going to kind of look for a narrative to fade Bordy because I think he's going to be popular. But the thing is, we've seen people make mistakes by reading too much into recent form for golfers, and I think this is just a perfect spot for that. A lot of people had him at the PGA Championship. He finished 18th, so a lot of people are going to be fat and happy with Gregory Bordy. Yeah. But I think in terms of his skill as a golfer, he's probably underpriced here. But I think in terms of his ownership and some other kind of course history-ish narratives, and just knowing that he's not necessarily a world-class golfer, I think he makes some pretty good sense as a fade. There's going to be, I mean, there's some possibility that there's going to be a lot of cluster in this lower range. I mean, I've got him at 8%, but when you look at the guys around him, their ownership is like nothing. I mean, basically zero. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's very possible that guys like Mikko Yonen, who I have at 1 or 2%, could all be under 1%, and Gregory Bordy and guys like this could be 15%. You know what I mean? So I think we're going to see some of that cluster effect where, oh, I heard such and such talk about this guy or this golfer. I saw this golfer written up, so I recognize those names. I'm going to jump on them, and I'm going to ignore the Nino Bertasio and all Haotong Lee and all these other guys who nobody really knows are going to be under 1%. And I think the strategy here is to take some flyers on some of these 1% guys and hope you pick a few of them right. So let's drop down. We'll just go ahead and combine the 6 and 5K. There's not too many guys in the 5K range. I don't think I'll be playing a whole lot of these guys at all. Obviously, Alex Cheka is going to be the chalk. I have him at 26% ownership right now because of that cluster effect I talked about. Could very well see it going well under that, but he's going to be popular. I guess that's the short and the long of it. I also have Fabian Gomez at 18% for the same reason, basically. I think that people are going to have a hard time picking Espen Kofstad and Danny Chia, right, over Fabian Gomez, who everyone or most people are going to recognize. So is there anybody that really stands out in this kind of 6 and 5K range to you?
No one really. Well, Nicholas Kolsarts is a name that I definitely recognize, and I think he's been talked up quite a bit as well. I think Pat Mayo was, kept showing his picture because he's had good success at the Scottish Open. I forget what that course is called, but
yeah, yep.
I forget.
What the hell? Now you got me screwed up.
It was a cool name, like I forget, Farm or something. But anyways, he had a good result at the Scottish Open.
Castle Stewart.
Farm. Castle Stewart, Castle Farm. I don't know why.
I've been saying it all goddamn week, and now the second you ask me about it, I forget it. Yeah, it's Castle Stewart.
Okay,
Sorry, go ahead.
So, yeah,
continue.
I think he'll be popular, but I think that's I don't know, good cash game play. I think you're safe there. Chake is going to be so popular, with good reason. I wouldn't be shocked to see him in the top 10. He's been playing really well, and he has some pretty incredible stats for someone who's 6,600. He ranks third, 18th, and then 11th in par 3, 4, 5 scoring. So
I know.
all in the top 20.
And in this field,
for
him to be 6,600 is like he's a must play for me in cash. Like I don't know how you get away from it. You have to, because otherwise you have to choose one of the other guys. And in cash, it makes no sense. I mean, Czech is probably going to be 50% owned in cash anyways. He's going to be all over the place in cash, I think. But I just don't see any way to get away from them when it comes to cash games because the alternative is garbage. I mean, there's just no alternative.
No, I agree there, and I'm going to be doing it. So it's just going to be 5 versus 5 in cash games. But I do like Marcus Frazier above him. He has been playing in a lot of the bigger events. He plays in all the majors, all the WGC events. So that's something you kind of look for when you're, he's got the experience on the big stage. I was going to pull up his results here, but he also is Australian. So I think this course has been talked about as being something similar to what the Aussies play in growing up. So there's that narrative. He's had some decent finishes in some of the WGC events this year. So he's a good pivot play, I guess you could say, off Cheka. Who else? Oh, this Fabrizio Zanotti. He sounds Italian, but he's actually from Paraguay, which I think is, it's definitely in South America. So there's that narrative working for him, and he's been playing okay for someone in this range, Euro Tour kind of guy. So he was 34th at the Scottish Open, 16th at the BMW, 7th at the PGA or the BMW PGA, which was over in Europe too. So some decent results and some pretty good contests there. So just want to take some flyers on these guys, just some guys with some name value, I guess you could say, that might be overlooked.
Yeah. That's
get
what I'm
guys you
looking
can
for.
recognize.
Yep, exactly. The one other guy I think you didn't mention that I will mention is Seamus Power. I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
is he being talked about? I haven't really heard him
no,
talked
no, I
about
don't
anywhere
think he
else.
is, but I was gonna, if you didn't bring him up, I was gonna. He's
Okay.
a
Yeah,
web.com guy, but he's been playing pretty good.
yeah. I mean, he's been playing pretty consistently all year on the Web.com tour. I mean, the strange and scary thing about this is the guys down here, down low, most of them are coming from tours that are, 2 or 3 steps below the Web.com tour, which is
Yeah,
horrifying to think about. And a lot of them aren't even winning on these tours. So, Seamus Power is a Web.com tour winner this year. He's had a couple of top 10s, quite a few top 15s. So,
he's top
um,
10 in money, which
yeah,
is
and
something
and
decent.
yep, and he's been making a lot of cuts as of recently. He's missed quite a few cuts in a row. Had a 16th place finish in his last event. But when you're throwing darts, these are, I guess, the type of narratives that you're going to be looking into. You have to find a reason to play some of these guys down here and reasons not to. And I think Seamus Power has a few of them at least. So, is there anybody else we missed real quickly before we jump on to the John Deere Classic?
Gavin Green's from Malaysia. I was shocked when I read that name, but and the last guy, Adelson De Silva is the lone Brazilian. So if you want to, roster the homeboy, the
I
hometown favorite,
wouldn't.
I guess you could say. Yeah, I think he's like an old guy. If I remember seeing a picture of him, he looks.
He is, yeah. And
Yeah,
Kenny and I talked about this briefly on the podcast, but he plays on the South African tour, and he hasn't won on the South African tour since 2013. Kenny tried to make the case that, well, he's got top 5 finishes this year and stuff like that, but it's on the South African tour. To me, I mean, great, he's at home, anything's possible in the Olympics, but to me, I don't think that this is a realistic option. I mean, this guy's going to have to go 4 full rounds, no cut, against some of
yeah,
the top golfers in the world, at least. There's just seems like no way. I don't know. It's not a narrative I'm going to buy into, at least. I'm going to be
no,
looking for guys who have some experience on some of these bigger tours and, have been winners on at least recently on some of these tours. So that's my little spiel on Adelson De Silva, who I think will be somewhat popular just because of the narrative you're talking about.
yep, fair enough.
Alrighty, you ready to move on to the
I guess there's
John
another
Deere
tournament
Classic?
here. What a
Alrighty,
week.
this
Let's
is
do it.
yours, huh?
We haven't got
So
Chris back, have we?
no, we haven't. And
Uh,
if he finds a way to jump back on, I'll go into my spiel about why he should be playing this. But before that, I think we have some business to take care of, Mr. Eric Patterson.
yeah.
Do you
Send the
know
picture
what
over.
business I'm referring to? This gives me extremely great pleasure this week because I now have experienced the pain associated with getting an avatar assigned to you on Twitter. It's awful.
I
It's
love it, to be
terrible.
honest.
Mr. Keegan Bradley stares me back every time I tweet, and it's atrocious. It's the worst.
Yeah,
It's the most
it's not a good
painful
look.
experience in the world. So you had the pleasure of getting a single golfer through in our ultra low ball, if you will.
Vaughn Taylor
Um,
was winning, so I liked that at the beginning, but well, he
yeah,
wasn't winning, but he was definitely up there. I thought I had a shot.
yeah. So you're
One of
coming off.
six through is not good.
Is this back-to-back losses, or how many is this
Yeah,
in a
it's
row?
a nice little streak I got going on.
2 in a row.
Back to
Okay.
back.
All right. So I give you. Uh-oh. It won't let me upload it. What did I do wrong here?
The suspense. It's killing me.
Here, hold on. Let me post it to Twitter. Oh, okay. All right. Tweet it out to the masses. All right, I'm going to read this out as I type it. Congrats on your new avatar, Eric Patterson. Love, your worst nightmare.
Who's it from?
Keegan.
Oh, it's a Keegan one. I like Keegan, so this is going to be fun.
No, it's not a picture of Keegan. I'm not
Oh,
putting
you're
any
Keegan.
extra Keegan pictures out there.
All right, let's
I'll
see
rephrase. I'm your worst nightmare. Of Keegan. You get the miserable golfer. Wait.
Load it up. Oh, that's nice. Who is that?
There you have it. The sad golfer. The defeated golfer,
So
we'll call
defeated,
him.
yep.
It says Keegan Bradley on Twitter. God damn it. This is awful. I can't wait for this week to be over. Okay, so here's the deal. I came up with a fun idea, but since Chris is not here, I think we'll have to circle back to this. Maybe we'll do... Let's see. Will he be on Twitter after this? Probably. We can do a live draft on Twitter if you want to do that.
Sure.
Of golfers. But so here's what I'm thinking. We can do a dual low ball where you got to pick 6 golfers from each slate, and we'll do it draft style on Twitter. Basically, it's a low ball where you've got to have. We'll do 2 3-mans basically. Combined score, total combined score, last place wins, I guess, and the highest score between the two loses. And here's the thing, I do not want to risk my avatar for another week because I know you assholes will put Keegan on my avatar again. So here is what I'm proposing, and you can decide for Chris whether he wants to risk this or not. But I would like to propose that next Slurv chat, next week, the loser has to wear a sign that says whatever the winner wants it to say. So I'll have to wear a sign around my neck that says, "Hello, my name is Keegan," or whatever. Whatever. We can come up with something funny for the
Sounds good.
loser. You good with that?
Yeah, that works for me.
All right. As
going.
long as you're good with it and I'm good with it, that's 2 against 1. Chris has to be good with it. We'll do a live tweet on Twitter or a live draft on Twitter after this of the low ball golfers we want to pick for each slate. So we're getting behind, but let's roll right into this. I think most people are probably not going to be playing this slate a whole lot. We talked about it a little bit off air, but I think that if you're a stats guy, if you have a subscription to a website that has some statistics or a cheat sheet or a spreadsheet of some sort, I would strongly implore you to be playing this slate on the John Deere Classic. I know we have a whole bunch of guys who sound like kind of garbage names, but we've got a cut event, and we've got a whole bunch of new players flooding in for the Olympics, and we've got historical data. We've got everything we need here to be successful as a DFS player. So for me, I'm going to be firing pretty heavily on the John Deere Classic, and I think if you guys out there are sharps, which I know you are because you're watching this, I would strongly ask you to consider exercising your sharpness here because I think it makes a lot of sense. So if Chris gets a chance to jump back on, he and I will have a debate on that, I have a feeling, because he talked about the fact that he was going to kind of fade this slate. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's roll through this. So we've got Zach Johnson all the way down to Gary Woodland. Obviously, it's Zach Johnson week. First of all, tell me what you think Zach Johnson's ownership is going to be, and are you going to be playing or fading?
Yeah, we talked about this. I think he'll be 25, which I think is pretty fair considering that price tag. And just it's not just the price tag; it's the jump down to Rahm or Summerhays or any of these other guys. It's just he's priced so much more than the next guy. But I will be playing him. Just insane course history here. I think it's like been 6 or 7 straight years in like the top 2, top 3. So it seems like a lock that he'll be back within the top 3, top 5. which is obviously not exactly what you need for 13,000, but he's extremely safe this week, and I like him more than Stricker. Stricker just hasn't really been playing as much this season. He has been playing decent, but just doesn't seem like a $11,800 Stricker week for me. So it's going to be Zach, and I probably will be overweight on the field on him. I'll probably try to get 30 to 40% of my lineups with Zach Johnson.
Okay. I think the 30% number that you said is probably low, but 40% is high. So, Zach Johnson, I don't know where exactly he'll come in, but I think it'll be close to 30%. So, excuse me, if you have 30% of them, you're going to be pretty close to what the field has. So you're kind of, I would say, sort of neutralizing your results based on what Zach Johnson does. For what it's worth, that may be the way you want to go, and that I think is definitely a viable strategy here. It's something I'm going to probably somewhat employ. I think I'll go underweight on Zach Johnson. Sort of depends. I don't know. I mean, I think I'm gonna consider either going way overweight on him or way underweight, if that makes sense. So, Not really exactly sure how I'm going to do that. Some of it depends, I think, on where kind of my ownership percentages all end up and how lineup construction works when I try and actually build 50 lineups. So, I'll adjust based on that. But dropping down after that, I think, following the big question of the week, we've got basically, we'll combine 9 through 11K. We're a little bit short on time, so kind of a small range here. I'll kick us off here. I think Ryan Moore is actually the guy who projects highest for me in my projections, both in cut made percentage and overall projection. So I really, really like Ryan Moore. I'm going to be playing a lot of him. He has been talked about a little bit, but to me it doesn't really matter. I'm going to be going way overweight on Ryan Moore. Outside of that, I like Wesley Bryan, who just recently won his third Web.com Tour event of the year, so he got his Battlefield promotion to the PGA Tour, so he is officially exempt through the rest of the season for the PGA Tour, and probably going to be pretty motivated to try and get a win here, so he's fully exempt for the next 2 years. But Wesley Bryan, I think, has the skills, the talent, number one on the money list in the Web.com. I think he has the skills to go the whole way here in a PGA Tour event like this, especially a weak field like this. Seems like a good opportunity for him to get his first PGA Tour win. And John Rahm is kind of in the same boat, although I'm not sure I love his price. I will have some of him, but at 11.4, for a guy who's never won on tour, I don't love it. But statistically, man, this guy is an outlier from top to bottom. I mean, he's unreal. If you take a lot of his stats into account, he's the best in the field in almost every category when it comes to the strokes gained stats. So take it for what you will. It's a pretty small sample size with Rahm, but it's hard to overlook. It's really hard to ignore. So I will be probably having some Rahm on my lineups for sure. So is there anybody else you like? Some of the same guys you want to talk about? Anybody I'm missing here?
Yeah, I like Moore. I think it's probably a pretty good play to actually not roster any of the top 3 guys and differentiate yourself that way. I think Summer Hayes is a good play. He's been coming in with pretty solid form, and he's got good course history. It's going to be a birdie fest, so he's 27th in birdie or better percentage, which I like. And just it seems like a tournament that Summer Hayes style of golfer, I should say, is going to win. It just kind of seems like this kind of event. I do like Robert Garrigus. His proximity stats are pretty remarkable. He's first from all the way from 150 to 200. So I think that's a nice little feature. He's 11th in birdie or better percentage, and again, he's playing pretty well as of late. So at 9,000, it seems a bit steep, but I think that's a good GPP play there. I'm going to be off Jerry Kelly. I'm not really buying into his second place finish from last week, and I think it's just a good place to fade him. When the winning score is about -20, his birdie or better percentage is He ranks 154th, so just not doesn't really seem like. I guess he does have good course history, but at the same time, I think it's a trap. I think a lot of people will be buying into what happened last week, so I'll be fading Kelly. And that's about it for the 9 to 10K range. I'm on Garrigus, Summer Hayes, Moore, for the most part.
Okay, I like that. I think Jerry Kelly's course history is the only thing that concerns me, but I mean, there's no question he's overpriced at 9,400. It's a tough week in terms of salaries because I would say 90% of these guys feel overpriced compared to what they usually are. So you sort of almost have to throw it out and just kind of put them in a rank in order and ask yourself, do they belong in that rank in terms of talent? And I'm not sure Jerry Kelly really does. And really, Robert Garrigus, I think, is kind of the same way for me. We're used to seeing this guy way down low in terms of salary. I haven't rostered him all year. I know he's had some decent recent form, but to me, I don't think there's that much difference between Robert Garrigus and some of the guys who are 2K cheaper than him. I mean, some of these guys like Ben Martin, Steve Wheatcroft, Jeff Ogilvy, Billy Hurley, Adam Hadwin, you name it, Keegan Bradley for that matter, I think are all much less expensive than Robert Garrigus and are probably similar in terms of skill and statistics. So Garrigus is a guy who I think has been talked about enough that I'm probably going to be fading in GPPs, but it's definitely a viable option. I'll put it that way. So
He's been talked about
dropping,
a bit? I haven't really been paying that much
a little
attention
bit,
to
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think his ownership will be necessarily too high, though. I think probably for a lot of the same reason I'm talking about. I think people are going to overreact to his recent form. I mean, that's the only reason his ownership would be high. But I think his salary will keep people off of him a little bit, and the fact that he's been talked about a little bit will kind of neutralize it. So I don't think he'll be outrageous by any means.
Sounds good.
Cool. So let's go ahead and drop down the 7K range. We'll go 8 and 7K range in the interest of time. It's almost 10:30 here. We got to start wrapping up here in a little bit and then start doing our live draft on Twitter. So let's go 8 and 7K range. Is there anybody you want to talk about first? Pick a couple of guys that you really like.
I'll start with Hudson Swafford. I think you talking pre-show, he's going to be pretty, I think maybe chalky, I guess. He's been talked up a bunch, but he comes in 4th in my weighted stat ranking, so it's kind of hard to ignore. 34th in birdie or better percentage, good from par 4s and 5s. And he's made a bunch of cuts in a row. So at 8,000 again, almost like Garrigus, you can probably jump down a bit and find someone of similar stature, but I'm willing to pay up in a tournament like this, just because he kind of pops in my stats. But Swafford's a guy. I know you're on the Hadwin wagon this week, and so am I. I think at 7,500, that's a good price for another kind of birdie maker, good putter, who should be able to contend this week. He came 18th here last year, coming off a miscut, but I think that's a good play there. To be honest, it gets ugly. So it almost gets uglier here than it does in the Olympics. Like, this is brutal range. Who else can I even talk up here? Oh, I do like Retief Goosen. I think that's at 7,200. He's been playing really well this year. Maybe not your typical birdie maker, but he'll definitely, I think he'll make the cut, no problem. And he's been playing pretty solid this year. He's been putting well, good strokes gained around the green. So I think, and I think par 3s actually showed up this week for me. So he's 18th in par 3 scoring. So I like Retief Goosen at 7,200.
Cool. I won't talk you off any of those guys. I'm probably going to have a pretty wide range of these guys in the 7K range. I do want to mention Spencer Levin, or Spencer Levin, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce it, but he projects extremely well in this range. But ultimately, Adam Hadwin is the guy that I'm going to be jumping on board big time here. He projects far and away better than anybody else in this range. Adam Hadwin is second in my model behind Ryan Moore. That's how well he projects here for this course. He just is the type of golfer that suits this course really well. And he's been talked about a little bit, but not a whole lot. Kind of in that same Robert Garrigus type situation where some people have mentioned him. There's some other people that are on him, but not too many that I think his ownership will be exceptionally high or anything like that. So I will be taking a big clip of Adam Hadwin. Hudson Swafford, the hot take of the week for me is that Hudson Swafford is going to be probably one of the top owned guys. I think it goes Zach Johnson, Daniel Summerhays, and Hudson Swafford. So Hudson Swafford's probably the third highest owned guy. I think he's been mentioned everywhere for whatever reason. I like him okay, but I'm probably going to take something like 10 to 15% of him and go underweight and just kind of hedge against the field on him. That's really all I think is worth mentioning. I'm also on Retief Goosen. I really like him as well. Projects really well for me. Has pretty good cut-making numbers as well. So he'll be a guy that I'm going to jump on this week, and I'll join you there. Trying to think if there's anybody else that's really worth mentioning.
Aaron Wise?
Yeah, he was actually the guy I was just looking at. He was the NCAA national champion this year with the Oregon Ducks. Young kid coming out of college, obviously. Going to take something like 12% of him and go overweight on the field with Aaron Wise. I still don't really know how these guys coming out of college compare to somebody like a Wes Bryan or a John Rahm. Or I guess John Rahm's coming out of college too, but like a Wes Bryan who's coming off the PGA Tour, who I would say is probably a little more seasoned and we've seen him play. We've seen him play on a tour professionally. So he's got a little bit under his belt compared to some of these guys who have not done a ton. But Kenny, I believe, was telling me that Aaron Wise just won his first professional tournament on the Canadian Tour last week. So, I think there's enough there for me to want to play a bit of Aaron Wise. Are you going to be playing him as well?
Yeah, I like that. I think I don't know. He's probably a little more talented than some of these guys, but like you said, he's coming off his first win. He's definitely fresh. So a GPP flyer there. I was looking at some of his odds actually to win. He's 500 to 1 to win on a, and then he jumps all the way down to 8 to 1 to come top 10. So I just thought there was a bit of a discrepancy there that didn't really make sense. But
interesting.
Yeah.
It's on the same book.
Yeah, it was weird, and Davis Maddock was actually talking about it too. That's actually what piqued my interest, and I went to go check it out. So it was true. 501 to win, 8 to 1 to come top 10. So something to maybe look into, take advantage of. But I like taking a flyer on someone like that.
Very interesting. Well, let's go ahead and drop down then.
Yeah.
The 6K range is huge, so I'm not going to combine 5 and 6K. We'll get to the 5K real quick after this. But tell me about the 6K range and who stands out.
Does anyone really stand out? It's tough to do, but
they're all standouts in their own way.
I think my favorite is the 6,300 Bud Cauley. I think he's coming off of an injury. I could be wrong there, but he comes in pretty high in my stats model, 33rd in birdie or better percentage, some good proximity stats, total driving stats. So stands out above this area in terms of stats. I don't know how his recent form's been okay, but like I said, I think he was hurt, if I'm not mistaken. To be honest, there's not much else down here. I'm going to go on more of a balanced lineup for the John Deere, so I can kind of avoid this range. But a few of the notables, I think I might always mention Luke List just because of his birdie or better percentage, 36th, and par 5 scoring. So if it's going to be a shootout, if Luke List can get into the weekend, I think he has a chance to, I don't know, come top 25, top 20. Which I wouldn't be upset about.
Okay, I like that. I agree with all of what you said there. Going to be on Luke's list as well. This is a range where I agree with you. There's not a whole lot of guys here that are going to stand out. I'm actually going to be taking a similar approach to this slate as I am to the Olympics, where I'm kind of going to take a small percentage of a lot of these guys who I think are going to be low owned down low, and kind of hope I hit the right combination with the guys I really like up above. The guy I have penciled in the highest is Mark Hubbard in this range. Despite the fact that none of his stats really stand out, he does stand out in my projections. He hasn't been too bad recently. He hasn't been playing a whole lot, but has a 49th and a 21st finish. Those are his most recent finishes here. Really, to be honest with you, this is mostly a projections play. I mean, he stands out in my projections in this range quite a bit. It's mostly related to his sand save percentage, but there's we're in a range here where it's hard to talk about a lot of these guys, to be honest with you. I mean, it's hard to come up with some narrative or some special stat that stands out for these guys. I mean, some of this is just the fact that the data tells you this guy has a higher likelihood of performing well, and that's Mark Hubbard for me this week. The other guys I will talk about here, like I said, I like Luke List. Tyrone Van Aswagen has had some success this year on the tour. I think. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, that's probably gonna do it. I mean, I really it's hard. I'm gonna take 8 to 10% of a shitload of these guys, but I don't. I mean, there's no talking points. It's just, this guy has played well at some point this year, and this guy has had decent form recently. I mean, it's all the same thing that you guys are used to hearing. So I'm not gonna beat you guys to death for no reason. Pick the guys that you like. See if there's some statistics that stand out, if there's some good recent form, if there's something there, take a clip of these guys and call it a day. I mean, even Luke List I like okay, but he'll be one of the guys I have the most owned here, and it's going to be 10 to 15% if that. But there is one guy that I do want to talk about dropping down to the 5K range. I've talked about him briefly in the past on podcasts. I talked about him this week on the podcast. Who is it?
Charlie Danielson?
Yeah, that's the guy. Charlie Danielson.
Listener. I know.
I think there you go. You're proving your listening
exactly.
your listening loyalty here. But Charlie Danielson, I think, belongs in some of the same categories as Aaron Wise and even John Rahm and some of these other guys who have been mentioned as kind of top talent coming out of college. Charlie Danielson, I think, fits the mold there. We've seen a lot of golfers come out of the University of Illinois and do well on the PGA Tour, but Charlie Danielson, he has a lot of things that speak to him doing well potentially. He hasn't had great results, but he's been pretty good on the Web.com tour so far, and the Barracuda he was leading for some period of time. I was kind of watching while I was watching the real slate, but definitely the type of player who I think has the upside we're looking for, and is definitely going to be low owned. I think I'm probably the only guy talking about him, but somebody that definitely piques my interest. I'm going to be rostering quite a bit of him, and I think at some point I'm hoping that's going to pay off quite a bit. So, but other than that, I'll take a few sprinkles of some other guys here, but I'll let you talk about some of these other guys in the low range. Who else do you like down here?
Oh man, you're making me do it. Who do I like? I don't really like that many people. Sun Kang, Andrew Loop, Maybe some Rob
Those are the last two
Oppenheim.
guys I had marked. You
Yeah,
you cleaned me out.
there's nothing else. It's yeah. If you're down here, you're really digging. So those are the only names that I'd actually recommend even trying to play. Loop went from first. He did the full Keegan last week. That's what we're calling it. That's what people are calling it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's a good one.
been coined the term for a very long time. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm out. I'm done.
okay, well I think that's gonna do it then. Jeez, oh Pete, we rolled through
We've
two
literally
slates.
talked about the entire world of golf.
Yeah, I mean this is it. There's nothing else left for us to do the entire night. We can all just hang out and kick it, have fun. You know? No, we got to do our live draft. I
Yeah,
nearly forgot. That could have been a disaster.
so we'll do that now.
Um, yeah, you want to do it? You want to do it on air here, or you want to
Yeah,
jump off and we can? All right, we'll do it on
it
air.
doesn't matter. Yeah, I
Well,
think it's easier
let's
this
do
way.
it on air. Why not? Okay, so I guess you and I will have to transcribe our tweets so that the people of the slurv.com world can know what we're drafting here. Let me get an invite put together and sent out to both of you guys for both slates real quick. If I keep winning, I'm gonna stop making them free though. So you guys, somebody better beat me. I'm gonna start charging you guys for the pleasure of playing me. If that's
Easy.
not the most conceited thing I've ever said in my entire life, I don't know what is.
You're winning in sub 5K only or sub 6K only
Yeah,
draft.
I know. And the thing is, I can't believe you guys haven't decided like to stop letting me make up the contest. I'm not like preparing for these things, but I could see where
You got all
oh,
the good ideas.
Brad made up another contest and won again.
Yeah.
All right, let me see here. All right, we'll do it as a free three-man. We'll invite you. I can never automatically invite Chris because he never has lineups made by the time we're doing this.
Yeah,
So his
no.
name, like how your name shows up as like
Yeah.
somebody who's made a lineup. So he must just make his lineups late on Wednesday night, which is not a bad strategy. But all right, I'm gonna put in a filler lineup so I can get this invite out to you guys. Hold on. If I were more prepared, I would have already done this, but I am not. Okay, so
So you know the rules?
I think he's been listening, but that would be kind of comical if we did a low ball and he came in with like a baller ass lineup or something.
Well, he's done that before, so it wouldn't surprise me.
What is his? I ask this every week. Grand Theft
Votto.
Votto. Okay. All right. I have sent you an invite to one of them. Which one was it? The international or the international, right?
Oh yeah, you're sending it two.
Huh?
You gotta send it
Yeah.
in two lineups.
Yep. It has to be two. But is the international the one I sent you?
Fuck. Yeah, you sent international.
Okay. Chris says thanks for including him, but he's not going to like the results when we wipe the floor with him. And he's going to have to wear a sign that says I'm a dipshit or whatever. We'll come up with something funny. It's going to be me. It's going to be a Keegan sign, I'm sure of it.
So are we doing international first?
Yeah, we can. Hold on. Let me put in my dummy lineup here so I can get the invite out to you guys on the second one. Chris is asking how much salary. So you have to leave 500 or less on the table, right? Is that the rule we want to go by?
Yeah.
Okay. Total score, both tournaments. Loser. Oh wait. Loser gets a sign. Loser has to wear a sign live on the Slurv expert chat that says whatever the winner chooses. Alrighty, so let's get this thing rocking and rolling. We've already gone over time here. We can start with the Olympics one, which which one starts? Olympic
8:20 or
Yeah,
Olympics start
I
at
think.
6:30.
Oh yeah, you're right. Damn it. Alrighty. Okay. So we are ready to rock and roll. Eric, as the loser, I am going to let you choose first. Chris says, "Oh my," so I think he's, I don't know, he's feeling the heat.
All right. This is so tough. So we have to spend 500 up to
Well,
49
yeah,
500.
49.5. Yep, you got to
Oh,
leave at least 500 on the table.
I'm
So
going
we'll start
Bubba.
with you, Bubba. Okay. Is Chris listening to us?
No.
Okay. So I will type the picks in. Eric goes, Bubba. We'll go Eric and then Chris and then me. This takes me back to the season-long days where you have to like actually sit and like wait for another person's pick.
It's great.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. All right, so Bubba's taken. Bubba is gonna birdie 50 times. Will it? Oh God, Chris. Chris is
Yes.
picking Will it. I have like 75% Will it. I'm in trouble. Nice. Okay, so it is my pick, and I haven't even thought about it. Let's see here. I am going to go. This is tough. I will go Fowler.
You're up again.
Oh yeah, that's right. I will go Fowler, and then I will go. Um, hmm. God damn, this is gonna
Hard at
be.
the top.
Yeah. I will go Fowler, and then I will go Grillo, which I know you guys are gonna hate or
That's fine.
love. I can't decide. All right. Eric, don't laugh at. Eric's laughing at me in the chat. Eric, are you laughing at me in the chat? Eric's laughing at me in the chat. Damn it. Fowler and Grillo is gonna win some GPP somewhere. I gotta put this somewhere. Eric's like, that's my qualifier lineup for the 1K qualifier or whatever he's in this week. Oh, Chris. Chris goes Appy Barnrat. That's a pretty sharp pick. Give him that.
Is he using a different? Oh my God. Oh, Eric's now in there. Okay.
Yeah, Chris is in a Twitter DM right
Okay.
now.
I'm up, right? I get 2.
I think Chris goes again, doesn't he?
Oh, come on. I gotta get 1 pick.
Oh no, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'm the turn.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, I'll go JD. Tung Chang.
JD. I
Tung
was thinking
Chang.
like Jason Day is not in the field. Okay. Tung Char, JD. All right, who else?
Oh, Chris, slow down.
That's my fault because I told him to go again. You can't take his pick though,
That's fine.
or you can. I guess you could. That would be awesome if you swooped in there.
No,
Just
I'll
type
go
in Ling.
right above him.
What he
I'll go
says.
Peters.
Peters, okay. All right, so Chris is gonna take Lingmirth, so it's on me, right?
We're not gonna get down to all the scrubs.
Oh, we will.
No, you gotta spend some salary.
Okay, I am going to take. I'll take Byung Han An at 8,800. Byung. I don't know how to spell. And then I will take. Let's see. This should be easy once we get low enough.
Keegan Bradley just hanging out in our chat, dropping a little ball.
Well, Chris is just drafting all out of order, like he owns the place. Oh my Lanta. Alrighty. Oh shit. Utah Ikeda made 2 cuts in 2 majors this year. The fuck? Not what I expected. All right, I'll go Matteo Mancero at 7,200, who I know you've all heard of, correct?
Hey, he was 3rd at the Scottish.
Oh shit. Too late. Already drafted him. No more thinking. Speed draft the rest of the way. Oh, are you typing my picks in for me?
Yeah, I'm just getting them across. Doesn't really matter.
Okay. Okay, I like this. I wish I had a secretary to type for me all the time. Be nice.
I guess he goes Wang.
Wang. All right. Chris goes Wang. So whose turn is it? Yours,
Mine.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then card.
Here. This is this is so hard. I want to go down to the scrubby guys, but I don't think that's tough.
You don't need to. You don't need to.
It's more fun that way.
There's no cut, so in this one at least, so there's no guaranteed freebies.
Yeah, I'll go Aguilar.
Okay.
That brings my average back up, which is not what I'm looking for. I will go. Fuck. Kuchar.
You going
Actually,
Kuchar?
I can't go Kuchar because then I can't draft anyone left. This is impossible. I'll go Hend.
Scott Hend. You're starting to scare me a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. Is it my turn?
No, Brad, Chris.
Chris's. I should learn how this works.
I think we're not tweeting this. This would be a disaster.
Yeah. Could take a month.
We could probably end the broadcast. People are just snoozing.
Everyone who
Vegas.
used to be a fan is no longer a fan of us anymore, right?
Chris goes Vegas.
Vegas? Oh my gosh. I guess. Jeez. Boy, oh boy. This is... I am going to go Thorbjorn Olesen at 7,300.
You're up again.
And then I will seal the deal with Gavin Green at 6,200.
Oh.
Oh, wait, no. I changed my mind. Hold on. Sorry. This is... I feel like this is the least captivating amount of...
A lot of blank space.
Yeah, a lot of empty. All right, fuck it. I'm going Gavin Green because I don't want to waste any more time.
And I'll go
I used all my salary in my low ball. I feel like that's terrible.
Akeda.
All right.
All right, we're done. That was painful.
Yeah. So we got one more to do, right?
Yeah, we gotta go quicker.
All right, rapid fire style.
Yeah. Don't even think about it.
Okay. So who was last? You were, right?
You were.
I went last?
Yep.
Okay.
Make Chris go. He doesn't understand the order.
Okay. As long as we make him go first, he'll never be wrong.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris is first on the JDC.
Man, the Millie Maker's not even gonna fill.
I know. I'm getting ready to jump in it probably after this. I still got to put in my cash lineups and all that too. If Chris doesn't draft soon, I'm going to be up all night. Woodland. You want Woodland. So that's you, right?
I guess. I'll go. Fuck. I'll go Stricker.
Damn it! That's the one I wanted. Gosh. Man, you guys are not giving me any help here. All right, I guess. God. Robert Streb.
You're up again.
I know. I feel like mostly like garbage right now. This is not an easy lowball slate. Oh God! All right, I will go. John Senden.
I'll go Matt Jones. Ricky Barnes.
Yeah, I was just looking at Ricky Barnes. Ricky Barnes and Billy Hurley. So it's back on you, right, E?
Go love Mark.
Love Mark. Okay. I am gonna go Scott Brown. Keegan. Michael Bradley.
You have to.
I don't even know if that's his middle name. I just made that up.
Sounds good. I'll go Harmon. So he didn't get any of those picks. Would you just go? Brown, Bradley, Harmon.
Rogers. Damn it. That was the next pick I was gonna take. Ugh. All right. You're
I'm
up,
up,
right?
right?
Yeah, I think so.
Poof. I will go. I don't even know his name. Krug.
Really throwing darts these days, right? All right, Krug. Ugh, I hate this. Okay. I'm gonna go Mike Weir, Kevin Na.
Boom, Weirzy.
Feel sick.
It's
I'm gonna
nice,
lose
eh?
this. I'm gonna lose this for sure.
I'm going Dickie Pride.
Dickie Pride. It's a
Weird.
perfect low ball.
Dickie Pride.
Alrighty. Well, now that we got through that painful experience, which we'll never do again.
That's a long one.
Yeah, Ben Martin is the last pick there. We've lost every viewer available to us. Okay, all right. That's it, right?
Yeah, we're done.
We're done? Okay.
It's been a long time there.
For the one or two of you who may be around, or maybe zero, Eric at least is awake, running the show on this whole thing. We thank you guys for tuning in each and every week. I know it was a long experience this week. We had a lot of fun. Chris dropped out halfway through because he got sick of Eric and I, so hopefully we'll see if he is not stuck in time and space next week. Eric, you want to tell him where to find you?
Yeah, Twitter is ePattersonFS. Weekly column on DFS on demand, and find me here every week, drafting terrible lowball teams.
We'll see. It's anybody's game at this point, I think, with two slates. So you guys make sure to check me out on Twitter at Brad Messersmith, Messer Smith. Don't goddamn call me Keegan on Twitter. I think that's all I got, though. If you guys have any questions or anything else, go ahead and hit me up on Twitter. And until next time, for Eric, I am Brad. Thanks for tuning in.